It's very. I'm very much impressed by your knowledge of the Russian history and literature, and in answer to that, I would like to quote Japanese hokku. Only time knows how many roads I have to walk to reach my happiness. You said that we will need at least 20 years to achieve positive results in the creation of the energy bridge between Russia and APR. I don't quite share your point of view. I think we will need less time to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, the First Eastern Forum is a very important event for Russia, which it is conducted in the framework of the strategy for the development of advanced development of these territories. And in accordance with this strategy, the most important aim is to raise the attractiveness of this region and the creation of modern, highly technological facilities. The carrying out this task is directly connected with the development of our ties in the sphere of energy with the countries of APR. The President has noted today that the key and target of this program is the creation of the energy bridge between Russia and APR. And the first thesis of my report is APR is the largest market, which is dynamically developing. The second key issue is that Russia is the key player on the energy markets, which has great potential and reserves for the energy security worldwide. And the third point I'd like to make is that the state has to create the necessary conditions for our markets to consolidate and create both the political and economical conditions for the development of this region in order to attract finance and funding for the development of the above-mentioned area. I'd like to draw your attention to the screen. The share of APR in world global GDP is very high. It has more than 46% of global GDP, including the second, third largest economies of the world, that is China and Japan. And within the last years, the growth rates of GDP in APR reached more than 5 to 6%, which exceeded the growth rates of the economy worldwide. And the share of primary energy in this region is continuously growing. And in 2000, it reached in 2014, it reached approximately 46%. Long term, APR will be the leaders in energy supply by 2035. APR will be covered by will cover 63% of the supply of oil and gas, and the main drivers are China currently, and by 2025 it will be India. The share of oil and gas is growing. The share of oil of the APR region will grow from 30% to 37%. The share of exported natural gas will constitute approximately a half of the world turnover to the APR region. As estimated by the experts, China will increase the volume of export fourfold. In other words, the demands of APR will play a key role in the consumption of oil and gas worldwide. As I have already pointed out, Russia is one of the key players, is the key player on the energy market, first place in supply of natural gas, sixth place in the production of coal. The share of Russia in the reserves is in the top 10 countries, and the development of the Far East and Siberia plays the key role in that respect. Most of the reserves are situated in this area, more than 60% of the total reserves of oil. That's approximately 4 billion tons of oil. And the forecasted resources are approximately 12 million tons. As far as gas is concerned, the reserves are estimated as 11 trillion cubic meters of gas, and this share is 16.2% from the total Russian reserves. As far as the next slide is concerned, East Siberia and the Far East are the most prospective regions for the future oil fields and gas fields. They have most prospects in recovery and geological survey. The oil fields that have already been developed are enough for the supply by 2035, 118 million tons and 105 million cubic meters of gas are estimated as the future supply. Therefore, West Siberia and the Far East are the main platforms for the recovery of gas and oil. I'd like to say a few words about the prospects of development for this region within the framework of the strategic perspective for the development of this region. The Far East of Russia will be able to satisfy the demands of primary resources in APR and Russia. The recovery of oil will be reaching high growth rates, and will grow to 19% from the total oil and gas recovery. As far as the gas recovery in West Siberia and Far East is concerned, the total volume or the total share will grow from 7 to 15%. Apart from that, the share of LNG will grow from 7 to 17%. As you know, quite a number of projects are planned for a realization in the Far East. In order to realize these plans, the state incentivizes advanced economic development of the Far East in supporting oil and gas fields. We have created a number of documents which prioritize investments, construction, and the capacity and the measures of public and government support. We have also created a system of tax incentives. Last year, we have introduced a number of tax benefits. Tax benefits on tax for extraction of mineral resources, and export excises. and also a tax benefit for taxes on the extraction of mineral resources until 2030. The fund for the development of Baigalsky region and the Far East, the Russian fund for direct investments, and other funds are dealing with the projects on the Far East, and also we are working within the scope of the TAD development program. We are creating an investment climate and attractive environment for the investments in this region. The mechanisms that we are employing right now are aiming and targeting at the creation of an attractive environment. We are working on Sakhalin 1, Sakhalin 2, Yamal LNG plant, and the cooperation of foreign and Russian companies is not limited to the borders of Russia. Joint projects are being realized both in China, India, and Myanmar.
I'm not going to list the particular projects. I think the other speakers will mention this in sufficient detail. Please open the last slide. At the end of the day, the objectives of Russia's energy policy in the East is diversification of the energy exports, increase by 2035 of energy exports in the East as a twofold by 6.5 times, and these are serious steps in that direction. To achieve those goals, we need to double by 2035 the share of Eastern Siberia and the Far East in terms of the production of gas and oil and deep processing of mineral resources and the establishment of petrochemical clusters in the east of Russia. The eastern vector of the energy policy is becoming a priority today, and the mutually beneficial cooperation of Russia with Asian Pacific region countries in the exploration of the rich resources of the Far East and Eastern Siberia is key to strengthening the entrepreneurial activity and the economic and social development of the region. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alexander Valentinovich. Just one question. Recently, we have been viewing the strengthening of the government's role in major oil and gas companies. Can you give us the reason for the strengthening of the role of the government in oil and gas companies? Do you think that this could scare away international investors who are accustomed to working in market conditions? First and foremost, the role of the government is as follows. The oil and gas sector is one of the most market sectors in Russia, and the role of the government is just to create the legislative framework which would ensure higher competitiveness of the companies, attracting investment and financial resources, and the government is doing just that. We believe that we need to have a healthy balance in the share of the government property in our energy sectors and private investment. And I want to say that today we are open for investors in the overall production of oil and gas resources. About 25% is the share of foreign companies if we count the structure of the shareholding capital. That's an important figure, and we continue to be open. I can mention the projects that are being considered today in terms of the decrease in the share of the government in those projects. Igor Ivanovich will tell you about the Vankur field in greater detail. He can also tell you about the share of Chinese and Indian investors. The LNG investors are also invited from China and France and other countries, and these are both offshore and onshore projects. These are the chemical plants. So I wouldn't say that we are increasing the role of the government. On the contrary, we are continuing to be open, and we are expanding our relationship with our Eastern partners. Our today's topic is the energy bridge. So